Hello and welcome to Killing Time. This is the show that searches for entertainment that does not suck. And boy, are you in for a treat today, because we're reviewing the second season of Luke Cage. Now, sometimes it's one-sided, where I've seen the thing, and my buddy here, who has no name, the man with no name, that's him. You can see the lower third. See, his lower third backs me up, right? He's seen all 13 episodes as well, true?
Yes, all episodes.
Okay, so 13 episodes of Luke Cage, Season 2. No spoilers at the beginning, and if we have any spoilers, we'll give you a warning, and then you've been warned. So let's get to it. Season 2 of Luke Cage, 13 episodes long, coming out on the 22nd of June, and it's telling the story of Luke Cage after the events of Season 1 and the Defenders. What do you think of the Season 2 effort?
Season 2, I thought, was a vast improvement over Season 1. I thought since he was already established and we already knew everything about him, we got right into it. I liked the story. Some of the actors have gotten more comfortable in their roles since they've been playing it so often and for so long. He's starting to look a lot more like the Luke Cage you know from the comic books over the years. You know, the swagger, the confidence. Without giving away any spoilers, he's got a really good, villain or, competitor or whatever you want to call it, who actually, gives him a little bit of a run for his money, which he hasn't really had up to this point.
In a physical sense. Normally we have, like, superpower weapons, and I don't think I think this is in the trailers, so if this is a spoiler, I apologize. Something about, who did this to you, and, like, were they wearing a super suit? He's like, no. That's actually 99% sure that's in the trailers, because that came out. So we've got a villain. We've got not a villain. He's
not a villain.
He's a rival.
That's the thing. He's a maybe anti-hero. It depends what your point of view is. He has a motivation, so to speak.
Which is to say, we have fleshed out characters throughout. Now, there's a ton of characters in this show. I want to say, and this is again without spoilers, this season could have ended, I think, 2 or 3 times before the actual finale. I think it really had the ability to be. Maybe that was a year and a half's worth of stories in one season. I think they could have ended it quicker, or they could have, this is a weird thing for me to say, if Netflix were to ever split a season, this one might have been it.
Yeah, because we had multiple storylines and plot lines going on, and they did intersect, but they could have easily been separated a little bit more. And you could have easily made this 2 seasons. But I know they wanted to get a lot of the story across, and without giving away a spoiler, they wanted to get him to where he is on the last episode. They wanted him in the position he's in when the season ends. So they felt like they had to do all of this to get him there.
Well, see, okay, so let's talk about the overarching storylines without, again, this is a story. We're not going to tell you exactly what happens. There's all kinds of, we still have Stokes, or Mariah Stokes Dillard. In my notes, MSD. By the way, I think I watched like 7 of the episodes today. So I went through all of this. So every reaction you get out of me is purely raw. I haven't talked about this other than talking to myself in the kitchen, which really didn't count. So she's playing a villain, if you couldn't tell, from the end of Season 1. He's kind of a bad guy. And then you've got Shades, played by Theo Rossi, who in the first season I was getting really sick of.
But he's awesome this season. I don't know why. He's better this season.
So
he really is. I couldn't put together exactly why, but towards the end of the season, I'm like, wow, he's been really good this season.
Yeah, he picks up, his arc goes in a really interesting way. I would say semi-unexpected, and just a lot of range, a lot of different emotions, a lot of different things are happening to this character. Then you've got Luke Cage's arc, where obviously he's got a whole new world to deal with. And you've seen these in the trailers, he's essentially a celebrity. And there's this nice intersection of technology and what a hero is like at this time, because essentially there's an app that can track him, the ways for Luke Cage, essentially. If you want to find Cage, you could do this with this app. And I thought that was a pretty cool idea, that everyone knew him because everyone was taking video of him, and it's going to be with a server, which causes him issues, because if you've got any problems with Luke Cage, you know where to find him, which is a great thing. We even get a scene with a familiar face who mentions, you ever thought about wearing a mask? Maybe that would help. And that's not a bad idea. But he quickly shunts that idea aside. There's so much more I want to say without. That's for spoilers. We have to talk spoilers then later. There's a particular arc I want to talk about. So, I want to say this season was a lot more compelling. I found the first season really dragged. And it super had this heavy yellow element. I mean, if you didn't notice, when the Defenders happened, every time Luke was on screen, it'd be yellow. And when Matt would be on stage, it'd be red.
It's red.
And it's purple for Jess. And it's green for Iron Fist or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I get it. And I get the color palette starts meshing by the end, so they're kind of like a cohesive team. It's got the subtlety of a, first-time writer. It was kind of irritating. In the second season, I didn't notice as much of this color palette because Luke Cage season 1 also subscribed to this idea of go yellow, go yellow, go yellow, go yellow. It's like, okay, all right, enough. This season,
I've had enough with the yellow. This season didn't feel like that. It had a different feel to it, definitely.
If you were to replace the theme song, which is interminable, I will say, that is the longest freaking
introduction.
And it's also like in super, super slow-mo, which makes it feel even slower, which is really weird. So I still don't know why that's the case, because a lot of them get moving, get to the point, but not Luke Cage, which is weird considering how much action is in this season. Season 1, like I said, dragged for a while. I had trouble getting into it. I wasn't really into the characters. It just seemed like, okay, I'm just gruff, and this... It's like, no, we already know what world you're in. We already know the universe you're in. There's already a ton of heroes going on, and you're in charge of how many blocks? Like 50?
Yeah.
And is it on the west side and the east side? Do you stop at the
I think
park?
so.
Do you include
the
park?
I think they do. I think they do west and east, because they do have they comment on East Harlem and West Harlem a couple
What
times.
about Washington Heights? That's a little bit north of there. He's like screwed them. If you're in the Bronx, are you totally screwed? Like, anyway, I always had a huge issue with the street level heroes, because it's just like, okay, you're in Hell's Kitchen.
Iron Fist has got downtown. He's got Hell's Kitchen.
Jess is sometimes on the Upper West Side, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no, you know who's on the Upper West Side? They always have, what's her name? Kimmy Schmidt. She's constantly on the Upper West Side, so
that's
clearly
right.
that's
she
her
must be
domain.
Your hero. That's the hero.
Yeah, so she's my local neighborhood hero. So we get positivity and all the colors and all the red hair.
Vibrance.
Yes. Good old Ellie Kemper playing, just to give her a secret identity.
Oh, no.
You never heard that. Anyway, so this season I think has a lot more. This season 2 was sharper. It was a little bit more focused at times. It had a good story arc for the heroes, a compelling rival, or two or three, however you want to define that. You've got great sub-character, these lower characters, supporting characters that really grow as the season goes on. And
add to it. It's like I like the introduction of his father, or the extra his father. Excellent actor, unfortunately no longer with us.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That's not a spoiler. That's just reality. The actor who plays James, his father, passed away, which is unfortunate because he was such... It seemed like, okay, this is a really good story. Can't wait to see him in season 3. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's a downer. But that's a whole real-life thing. Anyway, any other final words, spoiler-free, that you would like to give before we go into our spoilers?
Just that, season 2 was good. If a little bit long, but it was definitely worth it. Stick with it. I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, before I hit the spoiler bumper, I'm going to thank our patrons at patreon.com/IAS. You guys helping the show, making things happen. Really excited about this. Joe, Michelle, Paul, Alan, and Radford, you guys are super awesome. Thanks for being with us this long. I know Radford just joined this tier of pledge, so we really do appreciate that. If you want your name up here in lights, there are lights there. I never realized until right now. Anyway, if you want your name in lights, you could have that if you go to patreon.com/IAS, and you could have it with, I think it's a $10 pledge a month. If that's too much for you, don't worry about it. You can do like $1. That's fine. $1 a month gets you some extras. $5 a month gets you a thank you on the site. So let us know. Maybe you want a different kind of reward. That'd be really helpful, because I'm bad at making up rewards. So if you think, hey, IAS, you should be offering this. You should be offering Rob's home phone number. Sure. Okay, just let me know what tier you're willing to pay for that, and then we'll talk about it. Sound good? All right. Well, thanks to our awesome patrons at patreon.com/IAS. Seriously, couldn't do this, guys, without you. Could not do this without you. So, with that, spoiler time. All right, it's spoiler time, that is. I'm going to hit some more trailers so we can see some beautiful imagery. Because as these trailers are playing, I think that's going to spark a lot of different discussions. Here we go. Let's just talk about Well, I don't know if he's the bad guy. He's presented as the bad guy.
But he's almost like an anti-hero. We're talking about Bushmaster, correct?
Yes, Bushmaster is that guy you saw lighting something on fire just now. And he is known as, well, he's one of Luke Cage's rivals in the books as well. And he's got several different incarnations in the books when it comes to style of dress. And so does Luke Cage. A lot of these guys have different kinds of styles. But Bushmaster's entire arc is about making a family feud correct, or correcting a huge issues between two families. They even at one point jokingly says something like it's the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Hatfield and McCoys, yeah. And that's exactly what it's like.
It's these two warring families, and one did the other family wrong, flat out. And then Bushmaster's been wronged, and he just flat out wants the honor and respect and everything that was coming to him and his family. He wants to correct it. But the craziest thing I thought in this whole thing is not only do we see Bushmaster like be motivated to do this and willing to take physical risks to do this, but we see him like in this incredibly soft side when he shows up to this barbecue named after his mother, Gwen's barbecue. And he walks in, he's kind of loved, everyone's hugging him, he's talking to his family. It's a complete 180 from the intense or even the calm version of him where he's just kind of calculating. It's this kind of like, oh, he's just a guy. And he's just... What did you think about Bushmaster?
It was awesome. I loved his character arc. I loved the fact that you could have easily made him one-dimensional, and he could have just been that bad guy who was just wanted Harlem for himself and everything. But giving him the backstory and giving him, the family feud with, the Stokes and, showing his flashbacks, which, I mean, this guy had a shitty life. There is no doubt about it. You understood his motivations completely, and I got to say there were parts where I was actually pulling for him. I was actually, there's a part where Luke Cage goes after him to prevent him from getting his revenge, and I was like, yo, let him do it. We're good. Let him go.
There's some uneasy cooperation between the two at times.
Yeah.
There's this wonderful scene late in the season. It's Luke and Bushmaster, whose name is Johnny McIver. They're just standing there allowing a person to grieve. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're talking back and forth, and I believe Bushmaster says something like, I don't really want to have to kill you, huh?
Yeah.
It's kind of a really nice, like, I'm not doing this because I dislike you. I'm not doing this because I'm insane. I don't want world dominance. I just want to fix something, and that something is just wiping out Mariah Stokes, which, by the way, at some point, I don't know when it happened, but during this, like, marathon of watching the show, every single time anyone says Mariah Dillard, he goes, Mariah Stokes. He says it every single time.
Every time. He does.
And even if they said, like, Mariah Dillard, blah, 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 and they ask him a question, he'll go, Mariah Stokes. And she's over there. Like, and it started making me laugh after a while because it's so matter of fact. Yeah. You can see that this character believes this is the truth. She's a Stokes, and the Stokes did him wrong, etc. They must pay. Let's talk about the Mariah Stokes storyline. This kind of went all over the place.
Oh, man, this was everywhere. I mean, she's former councilwoman. She's trying to do good for the city, but also trying to make a boatload of money for herself. Get out of the gun game. Go legit. She's with Shaves. She's got her daughter. We find out that she was, raped by an uncle. Oh, my goodness.
13 episodes.
Insane. Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know how long, I am ashamed for this. I really should know how long the arc is. Like, how many days is this over? I want to say it's probably within the span of a month that all this stuff's happening.
I would say that's about right. Yeah, a month to two.
Yeah, something like that. So it's a compressed story. And, by the way, a lot of the episodes are about hour 5 long. There are some really long episodes here. So the Mariah Stokes storyline is bizarrely soap opera-y at times. Like, it kind of... And I know that they want to have the arc of her being in power and then her fall and then her setup of Luke, which is really cool. I like that. That's the end scene, the Godfather scene where the door's closing. Oh, my God,
the Godfather scene, I was... Yeah. The Godfather scene, I was like, they're going to do the Godfather scene. They're going to... Yep,
and they did. So
they did it perfectly.
That was pretty cool. I thought some of the supporting characters, Missy Knight, excellent in this. Claire, not in it enough. The final line from Luke about Claire is bizarre, and like on my notes, I'm writing, what?
Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, watch it. So this is sort of spoilery. I don't have to tell you the exact lines. But, Luke's whole arc with his father. Like, that was, it was a tense arc, but it worked really well.
And it came together at the right time. Like, it felt organic. Like, that's how it would work out, is how it felt. It felt like, wow, yeah, I could see how this would bring these two together. And I was like, wow, I like that.
So I think it was just way better than the first season. And then the other thing that made me want to get into spoilers at all was Danny Rand.
Who, by the way, this is the least annoying he has ever been.
I was going to say this is the best version we've ever seen, which is the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, that one, I was like, this is how he should have been all along. He's not annoying. He's not whining. He seems at a pretty comfortable place with himself, and he's kind of acting like you expect him to act.
He's kind of like a moral center for Luke, because Luke is getting a little lost in this battle, which is fine because this is not a normal life that anyone has asked for, and he's just trying to deal with it. And there's a great scene where I think they're in the barber chairs, and he's just, no, I think it's at a diner, excuse me, and they're discussing, like, okay, so you can believe that you're bulletproof.
Yeah.
And you believe that my hand glows.
But you can't believe I fought a dragon.
He's like, no, I can't, man. And I'm like, okay, I love that. There's that small scene that kind of built them up together and them working together.
Yeah, that was a perfect cameo. They did some of the moves that you're used to seeing them in the comic books do. It was a really good episode, that one. That was. I think it was actually in a couple of them, or maybe it felt like that. But it was just a really nice... Danny Rand was only in one episode.
Only one? Okay, it was
only one episode. Yep.
It was a great cameo because it has lasting effects. Because I guess when Luke is back at like the top of that tower, looking down again, and he's like it's that place where Danny took him to sort of meditate and spar. I thought the sparring was a little cheesy.
Yeah.
But that's so old school Marvel comics. That's like, all right, I don't get that.
Speaking of fighting, I don't know if the guy playing Bushmaster was doing his own fighting, but that guy, whoever was, is amazing.
And the choreography for the fights is just really good.
My goodness, excellent. Yes.
It's kind of nice to not have there's this inevitability when it comes to Luke Cage. He's walking through, and there are people going to shoot him. And it's like, that doesn't work, right? You're going to keep trying to shoot him, and maybe you knock him over, and then you care. But the way that Luke dispatches of so many people, he literally just flicks him in the head like he's swatting a child. But then there's Bushmaster with these like freaking awesome kicks, a lot of intimidation. That goes viral, as you can see in the trailers. That people
which I thought was funny because that's exactly how it would work if somebody was a hero. You'd see all this stuff, and everybody would be like, "Oh man, he lost. He sucks now."
Yeah, they compared him to Tyson getting knocked out. They compared to Ronda Rousey getting knocked out. I thought that was pretty cool. Very realistic in the modern society. Yeah. Though I will say, anything strange at all that maybe half the people are still around? Like, I guess this tells us where the time when this takes place.
I think this is obviously before.
Well, it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah, it was the same where people were talking about in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season. Towards the end, we know it's happening at the same time as the movie, but we don't get to the end of the movie, obviously, because people don't disappear.
So, I think this season was brutal and disturbing at times. Stokes' incineration of that fellow.
That whole scene with them taking out everybody in the restaurant was tough.
That was brutal, and it
was tough.
Ground level brutal. You can watch the big cosmic wars of stuff, and you can have these stakes and big wars of Wakanda and everything. But there's something about just like people walking to a restaurant and then eliminating everyone else. That was just it was very real.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy, horrible stuff like that happens all the time. So the drama on this thing, the Stokes thing, I think was a little bit rushed. But there's too much stuff. Maybe
it's too much. You're right. It's 2 seasons worth of stuff.
And there's
but what do you think about where Luke ends up at the end?
Okay, so I think with Luke sort of in that kingpin position, I thought there was I really liked that conversation with DW explaining how if you're the boss of crime, you're a crime boss.
You're a crime boss.
It was like, you're right. Very good point, DW, which stands for Darkwing Duck, as we all know. And I thought him being on the top there was an interesting change because now we have a different dynamic, and it shows a world that's not just 1 or 0. It's not binary, right? Like he thinks that this is the way to go. And the other thing is, I remember I think there was like a Punisher arc just like this. Maybe not with the Stokes.
But the Punisher was the mafia. He ended up kind of the Godfather.
Right. He's running the show. And it becomes, can you be in that position and still have a moral center? Can you reign? Because he was talking about being the king of Harlem. If he's saying, I don't want to be a king, and all of this phrasing, which was interesting. And at the club, we've got all of the mafia gangs. Not mafia gangs. I guess they're organized crime because it's multiple.
Yeah. Multiple families and
it's just like
nationalities. And,
can that work? Is this uneasy piece enough? Does this make what other changes will Cage make? So that I thought was a great pull for season 3.
Yeah,
like I want to see
very interesting because he's not. The whole season was everybody has a motivation. You know, maybe not just the hero's motivation, but you saw other people's motivation. So maybe he's not just a hero; it's just a person seeing him trying to do his best to save his city, so to speak, and trying to figure out the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Now, can he do it from the top? We'll see.
That's going to be it's a hard position to be in. If you're gonna, either you're fighting from below or you're on top. So it's hard to run in the middle, and it's a really interesting narrative, and hopefully we'll see more of that in season 3. Just slow down a little bit. Slow down,
and I'm hoping that this. The Iron Fist, Danny Rand, carries over to his next season.
Yeah, or at least like just show up every now and then. That's fine with me. Okay, I think so. We're saying watch the show.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, if you liked the first season at all, you're gonna love the second season.
How bingeable do you think this series is? I mean, the season 2.
I watched 6 episodes and then 7 episodes, so I binged it pretty good. And I wasn't really doing much other stuff. I was just being lazy. I drank a lot, but, that worked out pretty well. But, I started, like, the first 6 I had a tough time getting through, but the last 7 I flew through. I mean, I, like, powered through it, loved most of the episodes.
Yeah, I think you're right. The first half is it takes a little to get going. I still think it has a much better hook than season 1's first set of episodes. First set, I'm like...
Yeah, season 1, it took till, like, episode 8 or 9 before I really got into it.
So yeah, this thing is different. I think it's worth watching.
Yeah.
Do you have to spend 13 hours watching it? Nah, I don't think so. I think you could probably skip a couple. I think it could have ended at episode 9 and I think at 10. But I mean, obviously the last one had a really big feel to it. It felt like
and there were a lot of. I mean, they tried to give a lot of backstory on people. Backstory on Miranda, backstory on Bushmaster. A lot of that.
You got Misty Knight's backstory. You've got Nandy's backstory. You got Bailey. Yeah. We know his name because he's around enough times. You've got more flashbacks to Rafe. And then you've got even more backstory on the Stokeses and the McIvers, which is a whole other thing that's just set up. And then there's the daughter. What's her name?
That's
Tilda?
Right. Tilda.
She's got like her own 15 storylines going on.
Yep. And turns out to be evil.
How on earth does she maintain a business? Because throughout this show, in her store, Mother's Nature's Touch or Mother's Touch, whatever it's called, there's like 3 customers we see in the entire season. So maybe
and the store gets busted up at least 3 times.
Yeah, and so she repairs it, and they go right back to business, and nobody else comes in.
Yep. Well, just like the Harlem's Paradise, that place must have been rebuilt at least 10 times this season.
Oh, see, the thing is, there's actually like 18 of them within the same building, and they just kind of go to that one.
They just move over. I see. I see.
It's like that perch is actually like a central hub.
I see. So that makes sense.
They can always look down and be like, "Oh, number 3 is broken." We'll go to 4. 4 this week. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome music, by the way, in this series.
Yes.
KRS-One is in this. Ghostface Killer's in this. It's kind of like, wait a second, am I seeing this right? That was pretty fun.
Is that really him? Yeah.
All right. I think that does it for us. You guys should watch more episodes at killingtime.tv or youtube.com/finite comedy. We've got all kinds of episodes there. We reviewed lots of stuff there. And if you want to watch this as a podcast or download it and just listen to audio only, killingtime.tv is the way to do that. New episodes show up somewhat every week. So this is the actual time this matters. This is why you would subscribe. If you actually want to watch and listen when this comes out, subscription is a lot easier than going, what, is it Tuesday? Is it Monday? Did something happen? Did IAS fall down a well again? Yeah, that happens a lot. It's really weird. There's not even a lot of wells in Manhattan, but I find them. It's really weird. So hit subscribe. Much easier. The notification button. Totally works. I think that does it for us in this super packed episode of Killing Time. So long.
Bye-bye.